everybody. I redid a bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of new redeems and everything. Well, not a bunch. Thank you for hiding.
Great job.
Thank you for the MIDI break. Oh god. I'm not even in VR yet! I haven't even put my trackers on! What the fuck? He's back, baby! I will give you show beans as soon as I hop in. Oh my god. So everybody, there's a bunch of new avatars. Just letting you know, like a bunch of them.
You like kissing green, don't you?
Unfortunately, one of them has not been released yet, but I have been given perms to show y'all on stream. So if that avatar's out, people can't really join me. So yeah. I promise. But yeah, it's a very good avatar. You can get to it from. You'll see. I'll give you the beans in a second, you goobus. I need to get a Midi Bean sticker. Midi's beans are cute. Come on, buckle, you goobus. Come on. Ah! Also, everybody, just letting you know, this is the last stream until Tuesday, just because I have prior engagements this weekend. Nothing bad. Like stuff I very much said I would be there for. Multiple things, actually.
You sort it up, baby.
I need to turn on face tracking for the first time in like ages. It's like putting on a fucking mech suit. How we doing, everybody, on this Thursday? How we doing? How we doing? Oh, you're not gonna. Oh, I'm gonna. Please. Okay, there we go. So chat, one thing you'll notice about VR, at least like headsets like mine, it's so much louder in your headphones. It makes it hard to get levels right. I'm probably just gonna have to do an independent sound device. Dang. Oh, it would help if I'm in the artist section. Wait.
Blah 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 blah.
Why is it so loud to me? Is it loud to y'all? Wait, I think it's because I have my headset at like 5 million%. I also need to turn on live before I can hop in and fucking face track.
Blah.
Oh god, live is making it to where people can call you. I'm good, thanks. My ponytail. Can someone please say something in chat? There we go. Thank you. There we go. Something in cat. Hi, Ospie. Hi, Vince. Sir. Sorry, sir. Hi, sir. Hi, Wares. Hi, Skycoat. Hi, Heartburn. Congratulations on your gayness. Okay, are the levels good? Does everything sound good? I do have a question. When I get loud, does it cut off what I'm saying? I'm trying to fix that. Ospie, come on, hun. Cut the flirting while we're in stream. It's fine? Hell yeah. Yeah, Ospie, just remember, other people are here. I might not be as receptive to flirting as when I'm not live. Good, you can hear all the fucking weird MIDI noises. Thank you, Ospie. Oh, I am very small. Unbop. Graphics. Graphics. Doot, doot. Doot. Alright, let's find a world. Oh god, I have to remember how to use my fucking UI. Yeah, so if you didn't know, and I really like doing it to people, it's like you're little and adorable, but then you can just click on someone to match their eye height. It's real fun. Like, real fun. Let's go here. Let's go hang out in a suburb. Ugh. Ooh, I love this song. I know I can't. I know the game scene isn't up. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Na, 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 na. Hot one today. I haven't been on in a serious extent for ages. I just haven't felt like it. Well, it's been like. Come on. Oh, I forget how to stream VR. And let's start with that. Let's start out with Jackie. Okay, everybody, it's time for the ceremonial fucking booty shot of me changing. Yeah. Yeah, I saw your art is turning out amazing. Why are only 2 of my trackers on? Hang on. That explains a fucking lot. Jesus. Air, please. Thanks. Have to recalibrate. All right, everybody, now it's time for the ceremonial. Well, I'm gonna recalibrate first, so it's an actual like ass shot. Wow, wow, wow. Don't say I don't cater to you. Yeah, oh, I forgot the. Hey! Yeah, hi, Mavie. Hi, hi. I'm not sinning. Well, I mean. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, she may be literal, but she got a booty. Yeah. Wowee. Hi, everybody. How you doing? All right, let's. So basically, we're in like every American neighborhood ever. Ooh! So everybody, like, I've walked around on street. Oh, we could just. The door is open. Hey, left your door open. Dogs are kind of just gonna walk in. How you doing? Hello? Oh God, my old house in Florida. Well, my old house in Florida had those like disgusting white tiles that every house in Florida has ever. Oh wow, this is like this is literally just ooh, suburbia core. Oh look, it's where I need to hang out. All right, everybody. Are you ready? You ready? Ooh. So this avatar is not out yet. It will be soon, though. Wow, wow. Oh God. Speed tracking is fucked up. Oh God. Let's turn that off and reset it. I live here now. Yeah, exactly. Did my face tracking this? Hang on. Who is it? Oh, no, this. Hang on. God dang it. Oh, that's a squeaky booty right there. Nova8911, thank you so much for the follow. 1 second. 1 second, I'm adding a scene. I'll give you a twirl in a second. Hang on. I'm even gonna pause the music for this one because that missed the notification. So everybody, you need to hear my new follow notification, okay? Like you need to. Ba 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 ba. Na 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 na. All right, everybody, are you ready? I'm not, because I wasn't where I needed to be. Okay, everybody? Here we go. There you go. Also, you know what? I'm just gonna spoil everything. Here's the subscriber one. Yeah, apparently there's a lot of songs that Halley Labs made that just have barking. What, you want ready? I might have to leave face tracking off. Hi, Zerk. Oh, you want the squeaky kitty beans? I could not have phrased that worse. Broken. Oh God. Okay, yeah. What we're gonna do? That's something. Okay, yeah, my face tracking is broken. Cool. Cool, $120 device is fucking up. Cool. Hang on, everybody. Let me get my music started back up. I need to, like, just do what some people do and just fucking strap a stream deck to my arm. Oh, I want these pants. Oh, the whole outfit is shiny. But yes. Yeah. There we go. Whoop. But yeah, I absolutely adore this avatar, and I'm going to be using it a lot. Because one of the main things is most of you in here probably know I am a gender. I don't I use it as pronouns, but sometimes I like to represent or present a specific way. So this actually has one of my favorite things under shapes. It's called Gender Helper. So I have the masculine one on right now. That's the neutral one. That's the feminine one. It's very subtle changes that you do, and then you do your face changes on top of it. I love this avatar so much. This is the Fila doll by Nicorita. I absolutely adore it. I appreciate every time that Goober lets me test avatars for them because, oh my god, they're amazing. They also work fucking fast. Like, they said this was going to be out in September. It's going to be out way sooner than September. And, got a little bit. Alright. And then I immediately need to get closer. And then head shapes. The reason I'm gonna ask Sir to get it is because if you don't know, Sir is a Wolgar, a mix of a wolf and a tiger. So this can make the muzzle longer. Can also make the ears puffier. Make the ears bigger if you want to be a heckin' caracal. And then under objects, fluff special. Toggle the tufts. Not happy. Never knew actually. No, oh, cool. My chat's broken. My chat is completely broken. Cool. Everything's broken. So everybody, this might be a very quick VR chat stream turned into a desktop. Because stuff that was broken when I took my hiatus, which turned out to only be a week-ish long, is still broken. So what I'm gonna do, I really apologize for this, but I want to prioritize being able to talk to y'all over, you know, just talking into the ether. I am actually gonna swap out of VR, and then what we're gonna do is, if you join my Discord, if this is out by Saturday, I do a community meetup every Saturday. So if you join my Discord, I could probably get you into that. But yeah, everybody, I'm gonna go ahead and swap out of VR because it's being VR chat, live is being live. It's a cascade failure. So everybody, what we're gonna do instead, oh yeah, this is also the flirty emote, by the way. We're gonna play some Gen Zero. I honestly should have known stuff wasn't gonna go well once my face tracking stopped. So everybody, I'm gonna actually go BRB and we are gonna heckin' fucking go play some Gen Zero, okay? So, yeah, everybody, if you know of a way to get a better chat client than Live, please let me know. Thank you so much for the hydrate. How am I doing? We're about to switch away from VR chat because everything is broken ever. Oh wow, this avatar do have a booty. Wowee. So everybody, I'll see y'all in Gen Zero. Live isn't working. So basically, everything but the avatar itself is broken. I can't see chat. The only reason I can see what you're saying is because I'm sitting at my desk right now. Live isn't working. Everything's just being cranky. Fine, it makes sense. Yeah. We'll go play Jinjo. I need to... Also, Mitzi, enjoy your lurk. Yes, Sir is a Wolger, by the way, Oski. Oh, no, it's fine. I mean, I'm obviously in a way better headspace than I was before because, like, I would have just freaked out and ended the stream. But instead... Guess what? Still get to see the kitty, you know why? Yes or no? Ow! Bit of an older version, but... Sorry, what did I say? I told you that Sir Species is a Wolger. Oh, hey! It's my stream intro, dude. Oh, hi. You're hearing what it sounds like. Don't.
I've given everything that I could give. Lived a life that shouldn't live. And all I ever got starlight.
Oh god, my glasses are filthy. Do I have another pair in here? I do! Are these cleaner? No. Okay, whatever. Actually gonna be, this BRB is gonna be a bit longer because I need to pin my glasses. Because I pinned my mic to my glasses. The light is unplugged! Why is the light unplugged? Ah! There we go! Yeah! Screw the lights back in because people don't know I'm a tall bitch. I mean, they do now. Oh, right. Ah! Yeah! Oh yes, that's right. I muted my desktop audio instead of my mic. Cool.
I'm not ready, I'm not ready, I'm not ready, I'm not ready.
Oh no, y'all know I'm a tall bitch. Hey! Bots are working now. What? Hello?
Does it tear you apart? Does it rend you limb from limb? Does it make you wonder what it's like not to lose but to win? And you go.
Alright, I'm back. I had to clean my glasses, and then as you heard, plug in a bunch of lights and stuff, because, so, my lights are really old, like filming lights, So they are a reflective surface pointed directly at my VR lighthouses. So those are turned down and unplugged when I'm in VR. But yes, let's continue. Oh. Oh, also moderators, if you can you pause Show Beans?
Get up and stretch, you gremlin!
Aspie! I'm refunding you that. I just sat down after being in VR. So also, I'm not that upset that Liv is messing up because Liv usually messes up, like a lot.
This is the cardinal sin of EDM here.
No, you get your points back. Oh, I gotta put on my second collar. I wasn't prepared for today to be a VTube extreme. Ow! God, I really am like a freaking cyborg right now with all this stuff that's attached to me. A bunch of wires and stuff. Not a single one of them's a pie shock either. Dang. No, Osprey, you get your points back. This is me basically saying stop arguing. Yeah, Ronnie is, I think Ronnie and maybe are the only ones who really know how to do that. So this is an older version of the Avatar. Actually. What we're gonna do... We're gonna make a VRM. We're gonna make a VRM. Gonna make a VRM. I want to use the kitty. Kitty make Ginger go brrr. Who am I gonna make? The cat. Melody. It is not fun watching me work, but I'll take your word for it. I should probably close Gen 0. Hey, can you... There we go. Wow, it's like this is a real downloads. It's like it's a real OS. DRM. 99.14, 99.4. Thank you. This is a dangerous idea. There we go. Yeah, how's everybody's heckin'? Oh, hi. You can see me. You can see my lies and my falsenesses. I'm sorry to tell you, this may in fact not be a real OS. Oh, heck. Vibing while I eat bro. Hell yeah, Berg! I had Pizzer because they handed me Pizzer. I woke up like an hour ago. There we go. Actually, this... So, the cool thing is, Nicorita actually makes a special shader for their stuff. Oh, you could see on my, you could see them. Files, that's not a good thing. This is just raw display capture now. FSA. But yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't show off the kitty more. As usual, Liv did a Liv thing. I might, like, just chill on the VR streams for a while. I don't know. Again. Phone, I've silenced you about 1 trillion times today. Why are you still dinging? Now watch as I do a very terrible workflow. Na, 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 na. So with VRMs, every setting you want on there, well, from the most part, have to have on already. So. Hey, VR chat, can you shut up? I'm not uploading to you. At your turn. 30. The flirty eyes are always at 30. This is where these should be alternating. High thighs fluff. And mid fluff. Oh right, this is art. Yeah, sure, set it to art. On. Can you do that? You have perms to do that? Apparently not. I don't have low self-esteem. No, I don't want to contact your fucking customer support, Twitch. You already throw us to the wolves and make us solve every major problem. Thank you for the keeps. Also, yes, this is
You like kissing green, don't you?
Is it a set category? It's the stream elements bot. Divi is bluntly helping me switch over to Sammy because I'm tired of relying on bots. Like, extremely tired of relying on bots. Diddy. Yeah, the stuff you could do with that heckin' software is fucking amazing. I'm also kind of like, so right now I would be listening to the most caustic fucking speedcore right now. Oh, also, I could show you now. So, Nicarita asked for, like, meme suggestions. So, Popcat. It literally has a Popcat. I could make that my angry expression of wanted, and then Grumpy. Ah! Not Blender. Also, if you grab the ears on this avatar in VR chat, it does the cat thing. Don't grab your cat's ear, but yeah. Enjoy your dinner! There we go. Good. Kitty. Oh, that's right. There we go. Hey, Tracker, are you gonna cooperate or not? Because if you aren't, I'm gonna turn you off. You know what? I'm having the same issue FIFA does. It was my freaking water bottle sticker. Why is it all the way down? I know why. But yeah, I kind of prefer to just VRM stuff myself, because like I have more control over it, basically. Okay, I gotta remember you can just see my desktop. Okay. What was I doing? Oh, also this has muscles. Thank you for the mini break. Yeah. I love that. So basically, Divi made that into a WebM, and then for some reason it saved the freaking background. So I was trying to Lumikey out the background, and it just ended up looking like it was from the 90s. So I was like, you know what? It's fucking Amen Break. It's fucking breakcore. Let's just put a fucking Toonami bumper from 1999 behind it. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. These were added. You could do little Scottish fold thingies. What am I doing? I'm zoning out now. Pretend of. Why is it always that hand? Ah. Or worse. Watching you. Is there anything I need to set? Anything else? There we go. 30. Yeah. If you ever want any of the music I listen to, I can link you. A lot of it is on Bandcamp. You know what? It's my weekend. I feel like living dangerously. Hang on. I'm gonna get exploded for that. Everybody, are you ready? Are you ready? I don't think you're ready. Get ready. I think you need to prep yourself before you get ready. Are you ready? Yeah. Yeah.
Come on, Barbie, let's go party. Come on, Barbie, let's go party.
DMCA. Is it the fucking robot, Ken? Welcome to most of the music I listen to. Let's switch over to the Queen's thing. That's already pushing. The instrument. I need to cut the instrumental. Those clip a bit. I'm actually gonna.
Musicians with the greatest instruments in the world, and they still tune first to themselves, to each other.
There you go. There you go. Okay, I'm gonna check that to 25. MIDI doesn't have a type. It says it as it I don't have a type. 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 I just the latex on the abs, like, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna mess around with my own custom shaker. Well, not my own custom, it's my own.
Great job.
Wheel. Enjoy your scoot. Hello, heck, it's a geck. Welcome on in. We're making a VRM because VR chat hacked up. Well, Liv hacked up, so I couldn't see chat, so I got out of VR so I could talk to y'all. Oh shit, you could see everything. I forgot. Oh, that would have been bad. Hey, yeah, it's been a while. Oh, that's a Tay emoji. And now, boy, only take 20 billion years. I almost opened the tester Discord channel for this avatar, which would have been bad. Yeah, yeah. I'm basically playing it risky and just sharing my desktop. It would have been real bad if I opened Telegram, because holy fucking shit. Hey, chat. Also, 10-minute power hour. There's a new one. Telegram's down. My polykill chat is literally named Heathenistic Cabal, so... That's basically a non-issue, and it was just people panicking, as usual. Well, let's get a hot topic then. Big man. I'm literally sitting here checking my phone because of the fucking... Are you done yet, Toyomi? They're not crimes, they're just too hot for Twitch. Like, bluntly. Yeah? Oh, he's in my eyes. Oh, there's two of me. Hi. Oh, alright, I got mad at you. Huh? Nice item of food you got there. I like food. Wait, hang on. Oh, okay. My voice is somehow okay? I don't understand. Okay, you got. Oh, if you want the games on your phone meme, hang on. Like, I'm just fucking around. It's my fucking weekend stream. Phone games. Phone games. Games. Phone games. Yeah. Also, I like making my own VRMs because you can add shit like this, like the fucking bone staff. But yeah, this is very much just a heckin' vibing stream today. Like, more than usual. Because I was expecting it to be a chill vibing fucking heckin'... Just it. Alec. Whee! I'm a fucking party balloon, baby! Alec. Oh, hello. Because I don't care, because this is a fucking DRM, baby. Yeah, I used to be Verkayet. I just changed. This is exactly what you don't do when you have a VR chat avatar. I'm unoptimizing it. Oh, hi, Arm. What are you doing? What do you see? Hello? Wait, are you just stuck like that? What did you do? What did you do? Hello? What even was that? What did you see? There's nothing up there. Oh. Oh, you saw my lighthouse for VR. That's what it was. Interesting. I'm not unplugging it. I mean, I've always had a Kababalo save. Like, Keen's pretty old, but yeah. Okay, there we go. And the tufts aren't shiny now. Good. Oh. And the shirt isn't either. Good. The shirt wasn't ever supposed to be latex. We do a little bit of latex in here. Nothing, that's what. Okay, cool. You know what that means? I can just make computers cry. I've already done so. Oh, this song do be kind of long. Says in heckin' ADHD. So normally I would use the provided shader because it's an absolutely excellent shader, but I also just kind of don't feel like doing that because like. But that also means oh. Ba-da-da-bup. Having the metallics. Yeah, it does. Okay. Oh. Yeah, I could see everything slowly drifting towards my lighthouse. That's fucking funny. Why is my... You know what? You get put on silent mode, phone. You're annoying me. I shouldn't have you on in general anyway. I turned you on... I turned your sound on because I had an alarm set for today, and that, like... I just have my phone on silent. Whenever possible, man. There's no reason not to. I love how I'm doing this, knowing that, like, it's gonna just port it over to standard, but I have methods and reasons for methods stuff. Promise. Never said they were good methods or reasons, but they are reasons and methods. Pretty little thing, aren't you? Okay, do I have the main base bullshit down? I need to make your ass bigger. Chong. Oh, there we go. Hell yeah, baby. Hi, Osby. Oh, I really do love how that hits the light. Hi, I'm easy to read. Verb? Okay, hey. What? Why are you just straight up losing tracking now? What the hell? Oh, you're just broken. Okay, cool. So what I'm having is legitimate tech difficulties. Cool. Definitely not because I'm doing pretty intensive things while on stream, which is a massive portion of my resources. It's definitely not that. Couldn't be that. Would never be that. We'll get to the game in a bit, don't worry, I'm just making a VRM real quick. Well, just real quick. Real quick. But yes, as I was saying, I do a VR chat meetup every Saturday for my community. I like hanging out with y'all. Y'all are great. Also, biggest thing for like VTubing, VRM stuff. Zero this out, or you will or it won't appear, and you won't know why. It is because it needs to be zeroed, because that is like facing the camera, basically. Okay, and now. Now I can just drop this on. And it did it wrong. No. Let's just... There we go. That's right, it's a separate mat. Oh god. There we go. Buddy. Oh. Yes. Here we go. We game the system. Wait, hang on. No, we didn't. System, I'm trying to game you. Hang on. Oh. Oh. Well, we're gonna have to do more work. I grow bored of you, Nagaran. There we go. This is better. I'm doing heinous thing in. I think what it is something's just using a massive amount of resources, so I don't know. I'm verbally processing what might be wrong with my setup that's making. Hey, hello. Thank you. And the reason we had to do that is because when you export it as a VSF avatar, you can basically use whatever shader you want. Well, mostly. I'm not an expert. Don't pretend to be one. Oh, I missed the spot. Heck. Now the fun part. Adding wiggle bones. Lots and lots and lots of dragging and dropping. So much wiggle. Here, not the eye. I just recently started doing them independently because I like it. This is DMCA. $11. Physics on avatars is fun? Yeah, it makes it feel more real, like believable. Because otherwise, all of this stuff would just if as a board. And we're doing all of this just so we could play the video games as a heckin' cat. That is really funny to me. Hey, hang on. No, not the... Up, ba da 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 da. Oh, snake people. Whiskeys. Heck. I don't just perfectly know what number. I've just done this before on this avatar. I just fucked up. Cool. Yeah. So VRMs sometimes have some weirdness to them, especially when they're not supposed to be VRMs. So what I have to do is make sure the chest fluff is still on, or else it looks strange. I mean, I could literally just go into Blender and fucking set it up, but I don't want to. There we go. Bap. Minute. The fuck? Comment on. I do not care, random as fuck person who is texting me from a state I've never lived in. Meh. Get done. Get done. Get done. Get done. Keep the phone, no more problem? I mean, I'd have different kinds of problems then, though. Meaty, you are small. Why are you, like, reaching the top of this? Like, low! Actually, that looks pretty neat. Yeah, as always, remember, you need to zero this out or it's gonna, like, zoom across this thing, because I think it, like, works on a sphere or some shit. You can fuck off! Yeah, but there's also the microplastics and the macroplastics and the toxic chemicals and the, like I may be a mantle beast, but I'm not a robot. Like I have like I am a biological creature. Light it up. There we go. Dun. Yeah, I am, but I don't want to like consume phone. There's also the spicy pillow debacle. Well, incident. Wait. Issue. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. Oh, fuck yes, it's my favorite song.
Hey, sir, if you're watching, could you get me some caffeine or an energy drink? No, not a fucking collider. No, it's not. Now, I'm not gonna go ham on the expressions on this. I'm literally just gonna add, like, very basic ones because I'm actually gonna get even quicker after a while. No, I'm not. Come on. You brought me so many things. Woo! What? Don't like doppel cakes. Hell yeah, they're mine now. They're fine. I got doppel cakes, everybody. Doppel cakes. Put that one in twice. That would have caused issue. You need to pay attention. Come on, Han. What are you doing? Oh my god. What the heck? Now what I am gonna do is I'm just gonna add the root of the heckin'. Definitely not gonna bite me in the... Not for a quick spur of the moment. Okay, now is the actual fun part where you actually can customize the hell out of these. So I like using facial tracking things for these, but I'm being quick about it. Basically, for VRMs, I recommend using the MMD blend shape. Look better. Nico fixed it. Oh my god. Hell yeah. And this is how I flap my gums at you when I make when I make speech noises. Oh. Link. Yeah, having your Sona in VR chat helps with a lot of stuff. I'll put it that way. This is just a VTuber. Right, we're expressing joy. Oh, that's bitchiness. Left. Sadness. That's happiness. That's good. I will say that there's an entire section in my Discord of just tutorial videos that I find neat. Going angry. Man, this character's a bitch. She'd just be miffed. Definitely, I adore Nikarita's avatars. Just Nicorita makes great stuff. Yeah. Hello, duck friend. Sorrow. I don't know why I'm messing with these. I'm not gonna express it. You know what? Screw it. We're playing Gen 0. I don't need these expressions. I need your expression. I had to think about which I was which. Oh, wrong blank. Extremely weird. There we go, and we're ready! Yep. Yep. Oh, yeah. I mean, VR chat is the... Oh, wow. My leap motion is, like, super unhappy. VR chat is the only reason I really, like, seriously started processing gender stuff. I will bluntly say that. I will always say that. Wow, okay. My leap motion is, like, super unhappy. It's because it's exporting. Okay, yeah. Aspikoru is the Durga doll. Toru uses Nicorita's Durga doll. I can show you right now. Okay, yeah. I forget a lot of the stuff I do uses a lot of CPU. Exports and it works. I'm gonna switch over to Zero but this kitty. So chat, last time I played Gen 0, I've made some progress. Big name. Also, somebody recently made a winged version. Morgus made a winged version of the Durga doll, and it looks absolutely delightful. I'm excited for the weekend because I'm actually like doing stuff this weekend. It's not just me sitting around playing on my Nintendo Switch. Come on. Come on. Come on. Bum 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 bum. But yes, I highly recommend going through Nicorita's stuff. I'm using the Nicorita Mantle Beast right now. Like, actually, I need to make... I just realized there might have been an unexpected theme going through a lot of my Sonas. This character who is a lot older, like, I think I had this Sona when I was freshly married to Sir. Melody, MIDI, and then my other Mantle Beast is named Mode 7. Hey. Are you gonna yell and whine and complain at me? No, you're not. You're gonna behave. Okay, cool. Are gonna behave. Ooh. Ooh! Yeah! We in business. Ooh. Oh, she looks so mean. She looks so mean! In like a casual way, too. Oh, the latex. Okay, so yeah, my leap motion is very unhappy for some reason. Is it these bitches? I'm literally just throwing stuff on my desk on the floor. You know, it could be that my, like, much rawer? Yeah, she would bully me, and that's neat. Oh, I know why. Okay, there is a little clipping on the arms, but that's my fault. Very much my fault. Come on. Oh, I don't get to see that shine very much anymore. Oh. When your own OC gives you emotion. Yeah, I don't get to see, like, light reflecting off of latex like that anymore. Well, much anymore. No, just not anymore. Latex is expensive. Kind of it requires a lot of upkeep. Like, a lot of upkeep. Wow, and the hair swept over the one eye. Ah, gender. Yeah, pretty's a word for her. That's that is definitely a word. What? It suits me because she's mean? I know it. I get it. Very gender. I get what you're saying. So everybody, I'm gonna switch over to Gen 0 now. We're gonna leave the music. Yeah, there. Also, Nikarita, some of the best hand tracking on VRMs I've ever used. Oh. I like it. Oh, that's why. There we go. Hit the button wrong. There we go. Everybody, I have made some progress in this game.
I am shut down. Hello?
Blue game doesn't feel too happy. Yeah. Okay, something is flashing right. Up beep. Sounds a little loud. Ah, I'm sorry, 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 I'm sorry. There we go. Definitely. So chat, we're gonna go find some robots to bully. Hey, Bubby, let's go! Oh, also, if Skycode is here, thread level 13. Thread level 13.
How do you do?
Pretty good. I thought it just went up to 10. No. Go to the Soviet trenches. So chat, I not only have the LMG and the fucking railgun that is terrifying, I also have this. Oh, precious robot companion. So much is up. So this right here is a 12 gauge shotgun. Notice I am using birdshot, like one of the weakest rounds in the game. Wanna know why? Or pellets. Oh, this is gonna be fun. Oh, also, you know how flyboys are super annoying? Like, one of the most dangerous things in the game? About that... About that... About that. I'm a bit scary. I'm basically loaded up like a freaking space marine. It does about as that RP or that BMG does about as much damage as this thing, a bit more actually. I'm so glad. Gotta turn this. But. Yeah, that was worth it. So what we're looking for a ring for it right now. We're actually gonna farmlands region. Here. Okay. Hi. There it is. I just wasn't using my face.
Nice here.
So glad you think it's nice.
Runner Companion version 1.0.
Please waypoint.
I like this package.
Crack. Let's go. Come on, puppy! Wait. Okay, no, you can heal me. Oh, also my puppy can heal me now.
How do you do? I like it here.
So glad. Let's go. Oh, fuck! So basically, this has been a cascade of, like, I have the ability to hunt down rivals now with relative ease. So I do it, which gives me better weapons and more ammo for my good weapons. So it's like a cascade of the game gets more and more and more fun and bonkers and crazy, and I love it. Don't hear. I mean, you probably do, but don't want that way. Shouldn't be. Also, friends who play Gen Zero, I have many bullets to give you. Like ammunition. I'm not gonna shoot you. Much. Burn.
Det är Johan. Jag kommer precis tillbaka till Karlsberg nu och planerar permis i några dagar, men han är inte hem till läggdags för barnen. Igen, som Timon skulle ha sagt. Du, jag måste veta vad som hände idag. Såg du nyheterna? Vi borde...
Don Anderson!
Jag kommer ner direkt. Man kan behöva en sängpåse. Här är de 5.
I'm gonna take this down because it's your problem otherwise. Not with that though. That does less damage. What is this idiot? You know what? This quality. Let's go. Let's get the crazy music going. Scam websites? What websites are you getting taken to? I mean, don't say, obviously, but... Oh, I don't know what kind of internet you're using, then. I need to turn the game up. I want to hear that ominous magnetic hum. Glad you're happy, puppy. I mean, honestly, I want to get an iPhone for AR kit because that's how people do the facial expressions, and eventually I want to get one, but it's like we're saving to move to a different freaking state. Hi. How are you? I'm so happy to have found you. Oh, that. That's like, I thought that went out of style in like 2013. And he's dead. Yeah. 4. I'm how you say a little spooky. Yeah. The dumb websites. Ah. Take that. Take that. I'll take that birdshot ammo. Yeah? What about it? That's not weird. There's nothing wrong with having a feral character. Straight up, there's nothing wrong with it. Also might be for Therian peeps, who knows? Yeah, I don't feel like being quiet anymore, okay? Hi. I love this shotgun. Oh, dead person. How do you do? Osby, am I gonna have to give you the heckin'... I don't know. Oh, by the way, this is such a good 32 ACP. It does about as much as damage as my MP5. I'm not going to Major Johan's house. Sorry. Hi. How are you? Actually, I haven't used this thing yet. Yeah, it does more damage. Oh, you're over there now. Hi. Hi. The heckin' what? Stop moving! Oh, you're dead. Now you're gonna permanently stop. Ah! Oh, there's two of them. Yeah, what are you gonna do now about it, idiot? Charge me, you're gonna charge me, you're gonna charge me! Ah! I do that sometimes. Stop it! I did not know that when you shoot their weapons off, they just fucking charge you. It's terrifying. And that's a 4-star PKM for MIDI. And this next is bad. God, I love this cat. Not Jackie. It's too bright! You know what? Jackie gets... Yeah, I'm gamering right now, so I'm gonna forget what I'm saying a lot. DKM? Yes, let me get away from this flashing bullshit. Go. DKM.
I like it here. Nice here.
Hey, puppy, I'm gonna give you a PKM, okay? I don't need it.
How you doing?
I've never thought I'd say those words, but I don't need it. I have a better machine gun. Well... Bleh.
What's up?
The puppy is adorable. Yes, it is. I did this. I will say the biggest caveat of this is if you don't use pellet ammo, like you use slugs or anything similar to it, it's gonna fucking suck because it'll just blow up in your face. It relies on the flechette. It turns the pellets into exploding flechettes, basically. So the caveats are really funny, like really nice and fun. I don't know what the caveat of this is, other than it's loud. I mean, the Bren is magazine fed in an age when belts are very useful. The Bren is from a different era. I will put it that way. It is a good gun, but not immensely as useful as like a fucking belt. This mission. Hi, Tenorat.
En person? Jag har inte pratat med någon på ett tag. Vad gör jag nu? Borde jag skaka din hand eller?
Tell me to murder shit, okay?
Ja,
let's go.
Jag heter Veronica Nilsson. Jag är, eller var, en ingenjör. Numera är jag en mullvadsmänniska som bor i de här tunnlarna.
Jag föreställde mig apokalypsen så var det alltid jag mot regeringen, inte jag och ett gäng tonåringar.
A bunch of teens? What do you mean? I'm killing these things like crazy. Okay, then I won't try to change your mind.
Var det en överlevande i tunnlarna under fortet? Stackars flicka, helt ensam där ute. Hur som helst. Hon kommer snart att märka att hon kan räkna med farbror Kalle. Ännu en anledning att göra stället lättare att försvara.
Oh, how you doing?
I mean, I would just sit here in American and those. Gather materials to build defenses? Okay. Also, remember, Ospie, a lot of people in my chat aren't gun peeps like us. It can be extremely off-putting. Target-rich environment. Let's go. Let's go. Armor piercing. Oh, you're a small little baby. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And it's dead. Ah! Puppy? Wait, you're all clustered up like idiots. Okay. Ah! This is where I die, because I'm not prepped for close. Run. Ah! Yes! Please do! Please do! Ah! I'm actually gonna fucking die. Shit. Stop up, stop up. Oh! Oh, the game doesn't know what the hell to do anymore. You know what? Hang on, let me get some distance. was an extremely wild shot. What the hell happened there? Fuck, 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 oh! Are we good? I think we're good. Who dares?
In the area.
There. Are we clear? Not clear? Are we clear? We broke some stuff. We broke a lot of stuff. What do you mean escaped? Whew. That was yeah. Wowie. Game, I don't think you realize how little I care. Alright, what's walking around down there still? You know what, you get the lazy treatment. You get conventional weapons used against you. Marley! How you doing, hon? Welcome on in. Well, you're doing good, hon. Oh. Really? There's more of you? Sorry. Welcome back, Teddy! Oh, also, there's a new redeem. You'll have to find it. I'm not telling you what it is, but there's a new redeem. You'll instill. Oh, thank you. Good murder puppy. Shoot rockets at them. So my BBEG killer is 50 BMG, and you get 50 BMG from killing them. So net gang. Divvy! Hi! Hi, Divvy! Hi, Divvy! Ballistic missiles! Hang on, hang on, hang on, I'll give you a ballistic missile. Divvy, I'm sorry, but I am gonna have to duct tape you to this rocket, okay? Are you ready? Are you ready, Divvy? Are you ready? Bye! Uh-oh. Enjoy your trip to... It worked! Hi, Divvy. Thank you for giving a shout out to Divvy! So like, a large portion of my current most fun redeems are directly because of that goobus. Go check out Divvy. Divvy is delightful. Like, yeah, Divvy is directly responsible for MIDI break. Divvy is responsible for this. Why is it duplicated? I know why it's duplicated. Ooh.
Jag beklagar. Jag har också förlorat många. Om du hittar dina vänner så finns det gott om plats för dem.
How you doing, Divvy? How you doing? There, I'll be me. Everything's too bright! Ah! Da-da-da-da-da-da. Divvy in Pokemon Adland? Double divvy midi break. That is a very fun sentence
Get
to
up
say.
and stretch, you gremlin!
I get it! Okay, I'll stretch. I'll take a sip of my definitely water, not energy drink. The healthiest 90-cent energy water that is good and not energy drink. Ah, Mitzi! Ah, you know what? Mitzi, thank you so much. Oh my God. How many more? It's chaos. Divvy, no! I can only break so much! And we're good. Figer. You're saying words at me. With my brain. What? This break is core to your survival? Neat.
What's going on?
What is going on? The world is exploding. Don't worry about it. Hey. Arms? Hands. Hands? Wait, why isn't it? Is my...
Great job.
You know, it helps if the right direct... If the it helps if the, sensors of the, Ah! I swear to God. Hands! 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 Hands!
I don't know, on the bottom.
Yeah, I am. You know what? You know what? I Holy shit. Okay, hi everybody. Yeah, good puppy. The puppy also heals me and has a rocket launcher in his trans colors.
So how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Please don't hurt me. Ah! Hi, welcome in everybody. It's usually this chaotic. Pressy's baby. Yes, their name is literally Professor Thunderpup. So the reason my arms weren't working is because I had the sensors pointed at my throat like an idiot. Aww, we like having you here. Yeah, enjoy your worky lurk as best you. Oh, hi. Murder. I'm finding out. Oh, Bobby. You just headbutted that bitch. Hi. Oh yeah, you can join. You can join. I just might not voice comms, if that's okay. explosions, yes. It's... I don't know, Thunderpup. Oh, also, so you know how this is a good puppy?
This is fun.
Oh my god, he has little angry eyes!
Hello.
And then...
Hello, friend.
A spin? You
I'm
could
a
do a
good boy.
spin! That's a good murder.
Who's a good boy?
You're a good boy.
Wee.
You have a rocket launcher on your back.
Howdy.
I think I'm a bit overprepared for this event. You could pet the dog at Generation 0. Yeah, you could also like have the dog heal you and shoot rockets at your enemies. It's the best. It's even better because like the devs were like, okay, y'all have been asking for a Hello! Welcome on in. How you doing? How you doing? Do I just say her? How am I? I'm doing good. I'm not dead. That beaver. That blinker. I am the only. Maybe you can blink. Oh, it's a vehicle. Glad you're doing good. Glad you're doing good. Oh, also, so this is one of my stupidest weapons. So what I do is I go to multiplayer and then I press R and then I invite you. That's how you do it. So this is basically a shoulder fired howitzer. And then I cause problems on purpose. I'm currently doing a story mission, but once I finish it up, either follow the sounds of explosions and gunfire, or have fun, or both. Wood logs. I'm doing good, puppy. Did my game just crash? No! Game crashed. Enjoy your lurky lurk. Navi, I'm sorry, my game crashed. The game was like, no, don't shoot your protogen friend with the fucking howitzer. Don't worry about it. So apparently they did do a recent patch because apparently the puppies can cause multiplayer to crash a bit. So, bap, 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 bap. No shooty, your cutie little visor face. But what if my bullets do healing? Like they actually do. These are actually healing bullets. Because I'm extra. I'm gonna start the quests now. Wow. All right, let's go! Yeah! I love how this is how they introduce base building. Come on, come on. That was it. Up to Veronica. Where is Ah, the random door. Make preparations before the attack. Okay, we sit around and wait. Oh, landmines. Hey, Tabby, there's landmines up here. Nah, we don't need them.
De klarade sig därifrån helskinnade och är redo att hugga i.
Härligt. Fick du veta vad de är?
You have 8 seconds to place them.
Han klarade sig inte.
Where are you coming from, you goobuses? Show yourselves. Fuck!
Det ser ut som att vi får sällskap. Inte en enda tar sig igenom. Vi kan inte förlora ännu ett läge.
Oh. Holy crap! Stop it! I see how it is. I see how it do. You're not supposed to be here, you idiot. Get out. I said get out! Get out of here! Puppy, why are you shooting? So basically, all of the enemies in the region have also been attracted here. Awesome. Come here, come on. Stop attacking the fort, you idiot! I didn't do that. That wasn't me. Yeah, they did, but it's fine. I'll murder them, it's fine. Out. Loading. Game is so much fun. Jesus! I dog one. Because I had many more bullets. You know, this is a lot easier when you're ridiculously overpowered for it. Come on. They make you feel better. They're anti-headache bullets, which is the worst thing I've ever said. Okay. Let's go. Woo!
Phoenix vet att vi är här. Den här platsen är inte säker längre.
Ingen plats är säker. Så länge den där kanonen fortfarande fungerar så är det bara en tidsfråga innan alla säkra ställen vi kan tänka oss slutar som måsskär. Ja, jag är trött på att fly.
Yeah? Hey, and they got a skill point. Hell yeah. Skills. What do I want to... Well, obviously we're going to make explosives hurt more. Gold lad is pretty neat.
Hello, friend.
Like a puppy.
Howdy.
A little spin. Hey! Okay, now what? Are you going to give me loot I don't need now? Because I did my MMO bullshit of over-leveling. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna fucking loot this idiot who decided to try to ruin everything. Didn't have anything good. Well...
Hello.
Hi! Hi! Hello! I'm so happy to see you!
Hi. Hi, we did all the work. Hi, hello.
Så måste vi hitta den där kanonen och förstöra den.
My piece?
Om jag var tvungen att
Oh, we're at the
gissa så
rival
kan
hunting
vi
part. Hell
sätta
yeah.
flykten någonstans i Hisingenäset.
Like they use this story to introduce mechanics. It's awesome.
Om vi vet var den bor så lastar vi min gamla lastbil full med sprängdeg och kör rakt in i deras
Okay, where is the goobus that we need to... This one? This one. This one right here. Okay, we are going to Nidala.
Pansra den där lastbilen så att den tar sig hela vägen fram utan att gå sönder. Vi kanske kan ta vara på delar från förstörda maskiner.
Ja, jag gillar hur du tänker. Använda deras styrka mot dem.
This idiot right here that's literally about to explode. 2 middies? There's 2 of me?
Nice here.
Ah, I only had 1 round! Oh, I see. So, Abby, if you shoot off their attachments, they can't use them. I mean, they're gone, but they're hard to hit. Fuck! Ow! So I always try to shoot off the rockets and the machine guns from these, but they will charge after. Oh, you special gun. Ah! I'm good. Got better. There we go. Their MG's gone. Can I join? Yeah, sure. Just hop on. Let's go! Wow, you really are bloodthirsty. Yeah, we figured out. Well, Sir figured out. Sorry, flashing lights. I'm trying to. Yo! I'm taking that shit. I don't like how the puppy says ow when it gets shot, but it makes sense. Shrapnel shot?
Ingen fara. Det är trevligt att ha andra människor här. Det får det här stället att kännas mer mänskligt.
That you just press this. Yeah, I mean, that's why I don't have the dog voice, because it whines when it gets shot. Stop shooting my puppy! Okay, where's the next rival? Right over here. Track. This waypoint. On one. I mean, I'm just gonna take these out for the loot. So, Tabby, get ready. Nidala, by the way, maybe. Oh, I need to see what this does. And a grenade. Okay. We'll wait for you. Don't worry. What can I drop? I need to go to a base station anyway, so we're gonna hop back to Nidala and fast travel not available. Okay, I'm gonna trudge back to Nidala. I gotta pack some stuff away. No, it's good, it's good. It's just right over here. Like, actually, it's literally just, it's this barn right here. Okay, yeah. Or... Oh, nice. Oh, I need to do that. I need to do that. That's where my skills are going next. Because I can only do 64 kilos at the moment, which is still a lot of heckin' weight, to be honest. And I give... Where's my puppy? Where's my puppy? Puppy! I give you bandages.
It's pretty in here.
There. They need to add a sorting system to the puppies. I'm never gonna. Well, I'm gonna.
I like your strategy.
I'm glad. I see a maybe. Let's welcome them. Oh.
What's up? Nice here.
Yeah. Hi, maybe.
I like the expression. I like it here.
We're gonna go kill rivals.
Hello.
Nah, no voice chat. Yeah, of course there's room for you, sir. There's one more slot. Okay, since there are 4 of us, I am actually gonna hop into stream screams. Stream screams. I am muted. There we go. If y'all have Fugi text, send them my way as well, please. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm just gonna BRB for a sec. Well, no, this is.
What's going on?
If y'all have food text, send them my way, please.
How do you do?
You can just DM me on Discord. If you don't, that's also fine.
So how are you doing?
Okay. I know Sir has one.
Howdy. How do you do?
Hang on 1 second. Browser. The bad decision, not name them, but oh well.
I like it here.
Yeah, so if you go to reactive.fugi.tech. Yeah. Also, I'm having to bounce back and back and forth between games. Thank you, yeah, exactly that link. Thank you so much. I'm gonna have to organize this in like after she just like. Ace baby! Oh god, you're coming through my VR headset. 1 second. Testing. Check.
Hello. Hi, Mama. Oh, Taffy has a cool title.
Yeah.
Oh, I see it, and it's beautiful. I love it. I love this little PNG tuber thingy I set up.
Yeah. 1 second. I made everything 200%. Oh, there we go.
What's up?
So, also, if you don't have one, that's also fine. And sir, if you want to join us in comms, we're in streams as per usual.
Hi.
Yes, I just joined.
Hi, sir. Very small. 1 second.
You know what, y'all? No, I'm just gonna put you right here. You are actually real, and I am just in a window on a browser. It's like, hi, I'm a virtual telepresence device.
Oh, I might need an invite.
Oh yeah. 1 second. This is the first time I've had a full party.
Hey, game.
How do you do? What's going on?
Nidala, by the way.
I'll figure it out once I get in.
Abby.
Hi.
Fast travel.
Yes, that is it. Thank you, Tabby. Who has the Animu lady voice for their robot?
Me.
Oh, I was like, that was a very kawaii des. Oh my god, it's a Tabby! I'm gonna invert you.
Oh my goodness, look at that Tabby.
What's her?
Why are they being involved?
Because they were facing a different direction. It's fine.
Oh, God.
Right there we
Tabby's
go.
a protogen. Tabby goes in the box with you in the window.
Oh god, that's more work. But I'll do it. Hang on. Copy.
Digital creatures.
Actually,
Digital monsters, even.
Ah!
Digimon.
Off. Welcome, Tab. You're slightly. Sir, did you just hit my friend?
At
Yeah.
full speed.
I was trying to do a wheelie.
It's
I can
okay,
do that.
don't worry, I'm immune to motorbikes.
Oh my goodness, you did it. Thank you.
Hey, sir, guess what? Oh,
What?
bye, sir. None of us are on motorbikes. So watch this.
That's
Watch
not
this.
true.
Watch this. Watch this. Watch this. Watch this. Watch this.
Jeez.
I can set off the bombs.
Oh my god.
You just
Yeah.
irradiated me.
Yeah, that is now I'm radioactive. Thanks for the dirty bomb, Vince. Love you.
Does that actually poison you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Sir, it's radiation.
I think if you hit us directly, it'll also send us flying. It won't do damage, but the landing sure will, as we've learned.
Yeah.
Okay. I will try to remember that because I
You
thought
could
there was
irradiate
like
us and kill us.
I didn't know that. There was like usually no like damage to others. It seems.
Yeah,
Also-
like direct hits won't do it, but explosions are physics, and physics hurts.
If you
Okay.
need to grab a motorbike, it's on me. If you have the DLC. Oh, that's right. I ran out of gas fleeing from my bad decisions.
I should
Probably
also
like
make
unlock
some.
this. There we go. I need to fuel up.
Is there no consumables? Nope.
That's cool. The rival is also a heart, or is also a freaking oil. Ah, no, bad decision, bad decision, bad day, bad day.
Oh my god!
It's the long drive all over again.
Crashed into someone's puppy.
Oh, bye, sir.
I thought we were going after the thing.
We are, but you have to let us get en route first.
We keep tripping over each other.
Yeah.
This game is very funny in co-op.
Yeah, it is. It's on the one.
Who has the trans paint job for the dog? Because that rules. Also, your dog almost killed me.
Two of us do. It's the companion DLC.
That's rad.
Oh, who crashed? Heavy crashed.
Oh no!
Like out of the
Our
game.
dogs keep like teleporting in front of each other. It's very funny and dangerous. Oh god, Vince! That's a big robot. I don't want anything to do with that big robot.
We have to kill that big robot.
I don't wanna.
I'll do it for you then.
Oh wow. It didn't care.
I thought he bombed it.
Wait! Is it dead? Don't kill it yet! I have to invite our friend Tabby!
Okay.
Let Tabby get a hit in.
I'll get into the trenches.
Run and hide!
I'm in the trenches.
I'm gonna distract it, okay?
Okay.
So what's wrong with Tabby gun?
They crashed.
Yeah, they like crashed out of the game, yeah.
Yes, that might
Hey!
Okay.
Big bad! Come here at me, bitch! Ow. This isn't as open as the field as I wanted it to be. Whee!
Let us know when you load it, Tabby!
We're back to the trenches!
Can you send me another invite? I clicked invite too soon and it wouldn't let me join.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
There we go!
How do I make
Everybody
my
back
dog
off
stop?
so Tabby can get here! Woo!
It's just the dogs. I don't know how to call it off.
Once they die, you can call them.
I see Tabby.
I'm ready to dirty bomb it once the command is given.
Sir,
Yes.
you're American. It just got real scary quiet. Oh, my puppy died! Ow!
I am poised to shoot it.
Let me hear you.
Tabby's
Let Tabby
almost
get a
here.
hit in.
Yeah.
I'm...
300. Oh. You need help? Oh, you got yourself.
Yeah,
That's fun. Tabby is very close.
Tabby,
Tabby, shoot it!
shoot it! Shoot it! Shoot it! Hell yeah!
Ready to file?
Fire!
So where does this thing not like being shot?
The guns. If you take the guns off on the bottom, it can't use them anymore because they get shut off. That's how I live longer. I think it's still radioactive.
I'm sorry.
Your dog is teabagging it, which is very funny.
Which one is mine?
The one that doesn't say not yours.
That's so much loot.
Yeah, that's why I hunt these fuckers. Okay, next rival. My bike is just entirely gone.
I have a machine gun now.
Hell yeah. Sure.
Yes.
I have an experimental 44 mag.
44.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sidearm. On to the next.
I seem to not have picked up anything fun from this one.
Yeah, that do be how it do sometimes.
Are we gonna fast travel or just bike it?
Closest way, quickest way would just to be bike it. Oh, my
Okay.
bike is, that's not my bike. Oh, my bike is all the way, who is laser pointering me? It's my dog.
Where's the bike that's not yours? This is mine. Good.
Oh, there's a big boy.
Let me know if you want me to come back to Kills It.
I mean, I have golds, 4 stars, and like experimentals. I think we're good.
Oh, that's the one that's close.
Yeah, it's on the one-way point. It's on the one-way point, by the way, everybody.
I've also never been anywhere around here, so I'm gonna be biking everywhere.
Just a complete shit.
The crashes are so funny.
I didn't realize it was a fence.
I see the Goobus.
Uh-oh. I've angered many of them. Hi, Mitty.
Hi. Ah, yes!
I hate when they do that. That's so rude.
My belt is empty. Hang on. This game is so much fun in multiplayer. It's actual chaos, and I love it. Aim for the weapons!
It's penis is its weak spot.
Yeah, basically. Who needs healing? I'm gonna come shoot you.
I could use some. Thank you.
I'm at 70. Oh, I'm almost dead. Help.
Yeah, sir, where are you?
Okay, I'm good now.
This is utter... Ah, take the stuffies! I'm gonna turn the game volume down a little bit. There we go. I already own that.
Why is
And
my
now
puppy dead like a mile away?
Because they stick sometimes.
Graffiti resistance. Oh.
Yeah, skins are awesome. Who's shooting me? You? Not
That's
anymore?
ammo
No.
plate.
No more shoes.
Tills vidare kommer jag ignorera att din kompis Svante har byggt en robotarmé.
Ah.
Det var inte riktigt så det gick till.
In here.
Pick up the puppy.
The puppy, place the puppy, lift the puppy, throw the puppy.
Do I have to go back for my puppy, or can I, like, recall it?
Best
you would have
way...
to go back to it or go to a safe house that has a companion station.
And then just configure
and we call it the...
Yeah.
It's not very far away.
Place armor in front of the truck. What truck? Truck?
The one at the ring house.
Oh. I'm gonna travel to the tunnels. The muscular. I can't pronounce Swedish.
Puppy.
Okay, just put a pour. Oh, I see you.
Yeah, just join me.
Join me.
Not have a game.
I put down a waypoint, so... Do you have anything interesting in you? No.
Oh. Motley, hello, hon.
Motley.
How you doing?
Molly bites you.
Oh, yeah.
Fighting in my chat.
And on your stream.
Oh, wow. Wow. So many friends, yeah. Look at all these delightful people in my chat and stream. I don't know why I'm saying chat so much. I have 282 rounds of just regular ammunition for my 50B, and I'm...
Can I craft anything here? No.
Fighting live on Twitch.tv? Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
A shoebox with medicine.
Take part in a friendly bike race? What the fuck is this?
Oh yeah.
No! I'll lose! I love how it's called In Face of Adversity. It's like, have a neat little bike race to forget about how shit the world is right now. Oh wait, no, that's real. Oh no.
Yeah. Alright, where are we going?
I don't know. It's saying have a neat little bike race. I mean, it's phrasing it a lot less bratty than that, but yeah.
Oh wait, there is a question here. Gas.
Oh my god, we turned it into a fucking blender render.
Papilka.
It's just chained on! It's just chained on!
Oh, it's gonna get better than that.
Oh, you're further in the story than me.
Ever so slightly. As in, I have unlocked the next quest that we're about to start.
I have to talk to a Goobus.
This thing looks cool.
It looks like there's people!
Yeah, there's a lot of people downstairs.
Hey, can I talk to you please? Hey.
Vår speciella leverans till Phoenix är nästan klar. Se bara till att du får med dig Veronikas lilla manik.
Veronica's hacking device.
Den här lilla manicken är toppmodern och drivs av samma
I'm a
motor
doohickey.
som Phoenix, så den kan kanske ge oss tillgång till dess svagheter.
Ja, det tror jag när jag ser det. Tills dess, om vi stöter på något hinder, måste vi kunna knuffa det ur vägen.
I heard someone say something about skills that increase your killing weight.
Yeah.
Yes.
What is that under?
The survival tree, the left-hand
Motley.
survival tree.
This is one of the few games I play regularly, still. If it goes on sale or even at full price, because it's like, what, 23 bucks, I recommend getting it. Because, like, there's only 2 DLC that are really necessary, which is the story DLC. Other than that, it's just a bunch of, like, cool extra guns and stuff. Like, even the puppy basic model is like a DLC. It's like it's a free update.
Can I pet your puppy?
Go ahead.
Aww.
Okay,
That's
so
not yours. You can't pet your friend's puppies.
Not yours.
Downvote.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
My dog is on 26 health. Why can't I heal?
How did you die, puppy?
That's your armor, not your health. Yeah, if you look at the actual icon, it has a little shield icon instead of a health plus. Yeah. Skycoat actually figured that out.
So where are we going?
I don't know. Wait, I'm gonna put a marker down. Where is
Okay.
it? I lost the icon.
You can right-click, remove waypoint, and then place it
No,
back.
I mean I need to find the quest waypoint. Oh, it's over here. It's at the factory. It's on the one. I'm gonna change my music
Okay.
real quick because I have a feeling this is gonna get pretty bonkers. It's Bandetto time.
Okay.
Let's go! Oh, we're actually very close. My bike. Where's my? I'm just gonna. Oh! There's a floating gun. Somebody crash. Ah, God! Oh, fuck! Oh, oh!
What happened?
I fell down a mountain on my bike.
You already at a mountain? What?
A big hill. Listen, I am very small. I'm just a little creature.
Okay. Help!
Coming.
Hey, Mitty. I'm pretty sure exactly the same thing you did.
What do you mean?
Tumbling down a hill.
Oh, I'll wait for you then. There's some big
Are
men.
you okay, Tabby? You seem to be contagious.
They just got
I walked into a poison cloud.
What's the thingy?
Bye, Motley. Good night.
Bye, Motley. Okay,
Motley
let's just
says
send that
they'll bite
way.
you on their break if they remember.
What just happened?
I just assume I fell down if I make noises like that.
Okay. I also just blew up.
Why did you explode? Woo! I lived, bitch!
Alright, sorry.
Maximum noise, baby! Ah! Uh-oh. 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 No time to get on the bike. Just run.
But I want to get back on my bike.
What's wrong?
I hit a tree and now I'm being shot at so much, so many times. Lots.
Okay, I try to get back on my bike.
I think I see the thing that was chasing you.
There's a lot more than one. Alright, perfect song.
Ooh,
Let's
I see
go.
bullets flying. That's good. Oh, that's a lot of robots. Oh, that's a whole lot of them. Oh, they've acknowledged me.
Wheelie into combat!
I don't know how to wheelie.
You did it! Oh, that's a large gentleman. Oh, there's a relay beacon. That's why. Okay. There was a relay beacon. That's why.
Do those summon more?
Oh, they also give you lots of XP if you destroy them.
Nice.
So where's the next quest marker? Oh, it's back at the fucking safe house. Okay.
Me and Tabby or someone, we fast traveled up ahead and got that objective.
Huh?
Do you want to know how I can wheelie?
How?
Yeah, how do you wheelie a mouse and keyboard?
Nope.
Sir,
I use an
controller.
Xbox controller.
So you can't? That's so
I
disappointing.
do not know how to do it on mouse and keyboard.
I'm googling it after stream.
Nothing I push seems to do it, so I don't know.
I just hold back on the left thumbstick and I can wheelie.
Are we heading to MIDI?
I did the thing. New mission, E-track. You have to clear a fucking path. Where are we going? Why is my puppy dead? My puppy seems to have fallen over. Oh, it was probably all the war. This is not my puppy.
No one saw that.
You gonna come out of the woods and get me?
Ah.
Tabby, do you need help?
Oh wait, hang on.
No good. Come back.
Hold E to talk. Wait for the truck! Everybody get ready for combat!
Coming.
Oh god, truck move, truck go boom, truck.
My game crashed.
Oh no!
Oh no.
Wait, I can't listen to this song. No, wait. No, I can't. This will. Help! Hip!
Getting there.
The truck is currently driving, so
I think we'll meet you soon.
Can you send me another invite? Pretty please. Thank
Hopefully
you.
it's not coming towards us.
it's taking a right. It is literally
Okay,
on my
good,
waypoint. I am right behind it. I am doing a bad combo.
And I am right behind you.
Two bikes just. Wait. What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck?
Help. What?
There's bikes with no one on them. There's
We are on them.
You are? No, you're not. You're like a kilometer away.
We're Scooby-Doo
No.
villains, the Phantom
I'm
Bikers.
right against.
So
I'm right
you're
beside it.
you're not. Look at my stream. This is actually kind of spooky.
Haunted by the Phantom Bikers.
It's like a fucking Mystery Skulls music video. Out there, Tabby is materialized.
I got off to refuel.
Enemies up ahead.
Juiced them. Ew. Oh, that's a large boy. Large boy. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Ah! Dead. Ah! I fell down. Oh no! Please get me. Please save me.
You didn't sting me, just crashed into a pole on my way to save you.
Thank you, Tabby. Ah!
Holy
fuck!
shit.
My puppy's dead, so I don't have any healing capability. Wait, hang on. Can I? Hang on. Let's see if this causes a healing aura. I'm gonna shoot you, okay? It's that!
What the fuck? Where?
I'm in the wall. It fell down.
I got you again.
Thank you. Oh wow, that does.
Oh, I see you, fucker.
Mooching some healing off of you.
Okay.
That is the most Midikaya thing of only being able to heal through violence.
Is everything dead?
Mostly.
In combat. I really am just an artillery piece.
It's a good thing to be.
Really?
Oh, that's your dog. Oh, that's not.
So what happened to the vehicle?
It's back here. It was waiting for us to do this.
Oh, okay.
I'll talk to the driver. We're doing fucking convoy clearing. Literally, just walking up to the driver and say, continue. Hey, can I...
Midi, do you still need health?
I'm at 88.
Okay, because I looted a paramedic pack.
I do really appreciate that it made it go about as fast as sprinting, because some people won't have the bike DLC.
That's bloody awesome.
I love that
Get the fuck out, Paul.
Yeah, I love that the robots have really silly like Dark Souls 2 ragdoll physics.
Even our companions can set that off.
Oh, the companions are usually sprinting at them. I've seen them literally like fling them hundreds of feet into the air.
No.
Funny story. One of my companion went into one of the giant
Seems like
ones,
another big
ragdolled
up ahead.
it hit me and sent me flipping skyward.
There's a fortress up ahead.
Oh, okay. I think that's what we're sending this fucker to.
Oh, okay.
Wait, Cal, you're not gonna do a fucking... You're not gonna do what I think you're about to do, are you? You're gonna get out of the truck, right? I can't run... What do you mean without compromising the C4? What do you mean, idiot? C4 is like... You could technically eat C4. It is so fucking stable.
Hello.
Very nice of them very nice of them to open the side door for us.
Yeah.
Help.
You're all irradiated suddenly.
It wasn't me this time, I swear.
Wait, thank you so much for the hydrate. Ow! Everything is exploding and I'm dying and I'm being shot and I'm stinky now.
I turned my head to see Rav in the chat and immediately crashed into a tree stump. So thanks, Rav. I love you.
T4ios. Yeah. Hi, Zerk. How you doing?
Hi, Zerk.
Everything is gray and dark and I'm dying. Hang on. Let me shoot one of you so I can heal. Oh.
I got ya.
Thank you. Hang on. Hold still. Hold still.
Hi.
Hold still.
I missed the entire fight.
Thanks.
It's okay.
Open?
We were following this truck, and then we killed some things.
Wait, I have
I've
two
seen no
skill
truck.
points? When did I have 2 skill points?
Probably after all the fighting.
I have 7. I just don't know what to go into since I have
I went with
completely
hacking
did
because
Carry weight, apparently.
yeah, you can do.
Midi, do you need health?
What the fuck is it doing?
Can someone move
It's
the
bad.
puppy? Can someone
It's
move the
bad.
puppy? Oh no!
Help!
Move your puppy! Run away! Nah, I'm good. Like,
I ran out of repair kits. Shit.
Midi, what's your health like?
it's at 80%.
Does anyone have a spare repair
Hang on.
kit?
Yeah, I think
I'm at
I do.
100.
I want you to know that with my 2 skill points, I picked up the ability to heal others with my med kits, simply for you.
That's...
Oh,
I just unlocked the fucking
Vince.
5
Yes.
the really good puppy armor.
Where is it?
Should be right
Oh,
here.
okay.
Your bike's almost dead, by the way.
It is dead, by the way.
I'm talking to Tavi.
Oh.
Oh dear. Probably because I just got rear-ended by the feckin' truck.
Yeah, yeah.
I get my puppy ladle.
I'm just gonna break out my MP load.
I just activated the truck again.
Thank you, sir.
I don't see the truck at all, by the way.
It's on me.
It's fine. Don't worry. Ooh, there's a fortress.
I just need to shoot the robots. That's all I know.
Combat.
And there's the robots.
We're gonna have to remember that's there, because that'll lower the threat level.
A robot just got launched into space.
Yeah, that.
Oh.
Hell yeah.
And then landed in looting distance, which was really kind of it.
Big man in the front.
Where?
Very big, stinky man.
Yeah. Let's see
Stinky
it.
man, stinky man, stinky man.
A stinky man.
Stinky man. I don't know how you're alive, Callie. That's a 5-star PKM right there, bud. And a 5-star... Oh, that's a lot of 5-star stuff. And some health kits.
All I got was 5-star magazines, and none of them are for the weapons I use.
You know what? I'm gonna switch to my PKM because I feel like causing problems on purpose.
I got a 5-star flamethrower, I think.
Nice. They're the least useful weapons in the game.
I got a rocket launcher.
Do you want to see my only 5-star weapon? Get a load of this baby.
Oh. Oh, that was.
I got this thing.
I have the experimental of that. It's awesome.
Oh god.
It's the thing that shoots out 2 bullets for it.
Cool.
Which is fun when you're using the radioactive rounds, as you all saw.
Yeah. I am running alongside a vehicle, protecting it while holding a PKM. Stinky boy! Stinky boy and his stinky dog. God, this game is fun in multiplayer.
Yeah.
Agreed.
There seems to be more up ahead.
Yeah. I am gonna say I'm probably gonna end after this mission is over.
That's fine.
Okie doke.
Unless it like ends in the next couple of minutes, which
Another
it might.
big and lots of stuff.
Big chungus again.
I didn't even get to shoot at it.
Oh no.
It was kind of
There's
squishy.
other
You weren't
bad.
missing much.
Hack the gate! My time to shine with my hacker specialization.
I forget how to hack.
Walk up to the door panel. Oh no. Didn't provide me an easy way to get behind you. You're using a gate of. That's a large man! Normal size man. Heck! Oh. Hang on.
Ow. Oh shit.
How did you get inside?
There's a truck near my position.
Oh. Sir, I can't help you.
Okay. I'll help myself.
Oh, hi! Ah! Stop fucking electrifying me.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Sledgehammer.
I found a full stack of red dot.
Be good? Alright, I'm telling the truck to proceed.
Ow. Help. Yay.
Ow.
Oh, just getting run over. You're not alive.
I just found my second 5-star weapon. You'll never guess what it is.
Pistol.
No, my first 5-star weapon was a pistol.
Pitchfork?
However, did you guess?
Is it the same thing? Oh, sir, you're 100 meters up in front. Oh, God.
I'll come back.
My owner might have some violent impulses. When it comes to
I saw a
glowing
thing.
Yeah, you saw a thing that was
up.
glowing and you blew it out.
Yeah.
You do the same thing.
Yeah, sir definitely didn't learn it from me.
We ready to move up?
Seems like it.
Cool.
This is the most scrungly group of violent survivors I've ever seen, and I love it.
I'm wearing a skull.
Hey, it's like it says in the It's like Jesus always says in the Bible: kill people first, and they can't kill you.
Hell yeah.
What the fuck? Oh god, that's artillery! That's arty! I think... Oh. Oh god, I hate arty rounds. Savvy, you good?
I can't get off.
Can't get off the bike?
That's
No.
that's a hell of a problem to have.
I'm stuck.
Oh no.
Help.
There is. Do you have this safe house up ahead?
Hang on. I know a way that might help. It might not, but we're gonna try it anyway.
Kill me, please.
I'm working on it. That.
Are we perhaps using high explosives?
I don't have any.
Hang on,
I
let me
can
see
get
if I have
some at the church.
Bring mini
That's a
explosives.
great sentence. Loved everything about that sentence.
Please bring as many explosive barrels as you can from the church. We're trying to save our friend.
I just need to drop off some things real quick, but
Hang
yes.
on, wait. I'm gonna go way over here.
I could just fast travel to the
No,
to a nearby safe house, but this is funnier.
Yeah. Hang on, I'm gonna. Don't worry about where I'm going, okay? Just hold.
Wait, my bike.
Hold still. Hold still. Hold still. Hold very. That's a man.
Will it hurt,
Nice,
Doctor?
back to you.
Doctor, will it hurt?
Is it Tabby that's all damage?
Doesn't help if you're gonna hit.
How far off am I?
Oh, pretty far.
Yeah.
Ah, shit.
Oh, that's closer. A little higher up. Ooh.
Is this some kind of cursed immortality?
Ooh. Here, let me try.
Okay.
Okay, that didn't do anything.
Okay, I'm gonna back way off. Don't worry about what I'm doing, okay?
Doctor, will it hurt?
Yes.
Good.
Whoa!
Is it Tabby?
Yeah, just place him right in front of Tabby, okay? I'm going on top of a mountain with a 50 caliber sniper rifle. Don't worry about it, okay?
Shit.
I love just everything about that.
Need to get higher.
Does that hold?
Sir. Did you bring explosive barrels, perchance?
Is this helping, Tabby?
Where am I on your screen?
Right here.
I am not there.
Are you?
Stop. Will owe you then.
I am where Mavie is.
Okay.
Mavie is
so
standing right next to me.
I see the true Tabby. Right here.
Mavie, there's a grenade. You might want to move.
No, I'm good.
Are you sure, maybe?
Well, that was my own rocket, and I do seem to have moved Tabby.
You need to know where Tabby is now.
What?
Are you free yet?
This is the worst immortality known to man.
Is this you?
Yes.
Okay, so I can still see you. You're not free though. Are you still on your bike?
I'm still stuck on my.
Because I see you separate.
I'm off. I'm off.
Oh, good.
I'm free.
Hey,
I'm
our fucking
free.
round fixed it.
What did you say, Tabby?
We fucked around and we found out.
I found
Your
a
bike
fighter
is
jet.
super dead.
Hey,
I found a fighter
Tabby.
jet.
Are you sure you're good?
I'm good. Please stop trying to kill me.
Oh, there ain't shit on
Hey.
this bike. Or,
Okay.
This bike? This plane. Glenn. Ah! Ayo, we exchanging arty fire? Okay.
Those ones might have actually been radioactive. Those I might be out of smoke.
Sir,
What?
please stop trying to irradiate your
Defense.
mantle beast. Please.
Okay.
Wait, what?
Radiation. It could. Hey, you never know. I've heard that radiation can give superpowers. It might give you fat tits.
Oh wait. So the
Had a
OBJ
good point.
is Way back here, by the way.
It's
Julen svarar inte.
Am I
I'm at the OBJ.
Oh, I was wrong. Hang on, I'll let you know where I
Really?
am, okay? What?
Okay. No, I see you. The truck is stuck on my waypoint.
I'm gonna go to the safe house first.
Okay. Can't craft anything here.
How did that go through the window?
The bell, that's pretty cool.
I am right next to the bell.
So the first one was such a good bad shot that it went through the window and sailed hundreds of yards away. I'm recycling now! I just recycled a 5-star site! Okay, let's leave. Let's leave. I'm running. I can't be trusted. I'm running. That makes me mad. Like, actually.
I'm very tempted to recycle that 5-star pitchfork out of spite.
I got a 5-star RPG site. That's the second one I got. And it's the second one I recycled.
Why are you recycling?
Because I keep getting these fuckers mixed up.
It's really easy. I would do recycling very slowly. Okay. Sorry.
I know, I am silly.
Okay.
Oh look, 5 adrenaline shots! And I'm gonna bring explosive gas tanks just in case I'm, ooh, 11 frag grenades. Ooh, Molotovs. We're gonna end the stream with me launching one of you. Let you know.
Okay.
I volunteer as a tribute, considering I'm used to it.
Hey, hi. Hi, Caillou. Okay, I need to find a tire. I hear you, stinky boy. Hey, whoa. Hang on. Oh, I know how to take care of this. With bad decisions. I'm gonna die.
Best kind of decision.
Ow.
Gotcha.
I'm good.
Ah!
Grenade.
Frag out, frag grenade. Ah!
I got ya.
I got myself.
I don't even see what you're fighting. I just rolled up and you're all exploding yourselves.
Yeah.
There's another one. Frag out.
Ah!
Frag out. Okay, it should be
Cool
safe.
people don't look at explosions.
They're all over you. Come back. Oh, it's not that big of a problem. Oh, you mean enemies. Okay.
Someone's dog is dead. It's mine. My dog is dead.
Someone's dog is dead. Oh, it's mine. Stop shooting rockets at my car! I mean, Caillou's car. I've been set aflame. I'm now crispy.
My body.
Do you need help?
Oh,
Bucket!
Meaty is stinky.
Now maybe stinky.
Also smelly.
I like how we made this giant armored truck and then it got a fucking flat tire.
Yeah, that scans. Chad, how
Well,
are
it
you
did
enjoying the
get
chaos?
indirectly fired upon by an early round.
Yeah. Oh god. Truck has a
What?
health bar now.
Oh no.
Yeah, stick
Why do I
close.
get the strange feeling that it's going to be destroyed but not by the enemy?
I don't know.
I'll put away my nuclear round.
Please do!
That could be a strategy. It just
nukes?
might.
I'm just sticking by the truck. If it's moving, it can't die, right? Why am I still smelly? There we go.
Hee smelly.
Fuck, it's one of those Imperial probe.
You know what? I'm putting my mask on. There we go. Now I'm terrifying, but I can breathe a bit better.
I should heal myself. I'm fully up the hackle and the survival tree.
Nice. Whims. Our strategy of just telling the truck, go, 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 go. Why is the truck swerving violently? Oh no.
There was an ambush into these trees.
But you ambushed them.
Yes.
Yes, Skycode, all the time. I'm an EP individual. Hi, Skycode, how you doing?
Skycode!
Hey, Skycode!
Skycode!
Skycode is a dead wolf.
It's true. Thank you, Mitty.
Go back to the car! Mom says we'll get in trouble!
Get back in the truck, we're getting McDonald's.
McDonald's! Baby's doing the smart thing and looting everything. We're just...
I mean, I'm looting sometimes. And then I'm late to every fight, so...
You live longer?
Yeah, it's true.
I've already died once, and it wasn't due to us playing kickball with me with my motorbike.
Got a sniper on the hill.
Do we now?
Yep.
I gotcha.
I'm running
Oh,
away. I'm good. I got my cheeks.
Oh, I
clapped,
see
but
the
I'm
sniper
good.
you were talking about. Should we try and shoot him back?
Fuck off.
Some of you may die. Probably Mitty.
I was asking for that.
Okay.
Ow. Yeah, please.
Oh, he's dead. Cool. Running away.
Help.
I couldn't see the little skull icon wasn't over you.
That's weird.
Oh, you might have sleep apnea? Ooh, sleep apnea is not fun.
Come to mummy, come to mummy.
It really did fall down the hill just for you.
I took the high ground.
Okay. Okay.
Where's the
Obi.
loot spot on it?
You might just have to run past it. The game gets unhappy sometimes.
Or maybe it
when
is
you play
still
for
up there.
ages.
Maybe it's still alive because it seems to have the enemy spotted you indicator is trained on it.
Uh-oh. We knocked it over and it doesn't know what the fuck's going on anymore.
Oh no.
It just made a noise. I don't think we're getting loot out of this one.
It just made a noise. Is it dead?
No.
Cheapskate.
It's
Hey
completely
yo, we're taking out the
Well,
cannon. That's what we're doing.
It seems like we're going into this thing.
Yeah, we're taking out the RE.
Not so bad, boys.
Okay. Wait a them.
A little bit of moida as a treat.
Oh dear. I love looting while reloading. Can someone talk to the truck?
Gates aren't open.
Well, it says to talk to the truck.
Talk to Caillou? Okay.
I can talk to the truck even though I can't see it.
Please do.
I've spoken to the truck.
Gate! Open the gate! Oh.
Magic doohickey.
It's me? No, I'm just a doohickey. Okay, difficulty does definitely scale with the amount of people.
Plus, this is a Fennec site.
Phoenix.
Fennec.
Yeah, this is a Divvy site.
Divvy's here?
We're breaking Divvy's things. Don't tell Divvy. Don't tell Divvy.
It's okay, we'll just stuff him in a locker, he won't mind.
Shit. I found a doohickey.
It's us, shotgun buddies! Oh, the gates aren't. Oh, that's a big gun. What in the fucking Warhammer 40k is this shit?
Oh, we'll have a 40k shit.
Yeah, this is the most Imperium of Man thing I have ever seen. Look at this! This is straight out of Warhammer.
I have 12-bit, hee hee.
This. Y'all are killing them so quickly, they're popping up and blowing up for me. Talk to Caillou. Talk to Caillou about the
Oh
C4.
shit.
No, let's keep calling him Caillou. I like to picture that guy, that the most vanilla man alive is behind that wheel of that truck.
It's young One Punch Man.
Caillou grew up and said, let's do a modal.
Oh, you're already dead. I'll talk to the truck.
Not if I get the first.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay here with Navy just to look everything.
I'm fighting up for Bratting.
Yep, I knew that was gonna happen. Kalle is gonna do the fucking heroic sacrifice of being an idiot, basically.
Not Caillou from that cartoon.
I'm just gonna, okay.
Ew, that's a big one.
Hang on, I'll give him a proper send-off. Oh, that's a big man!
Yeah.
That's a big man! Woo!
Who's the big man?
What am I looking at?
There's a big one at the top of the hill. Ow. Help.
Who are you?
I don't know. Surrounded by 2 of you, though. 3 of you.
Oh, shit.
Oh, God.
Thank you.
Fortier! Hello!
Fortier!
You like kissing green, don't you?
Så är dina handlingar meningslösa.
Y'all are just gonna keep dying, aren't you?
Yes.
I'm going to delete every line of code in your body. Hi, I'm a mantle beach. That's fucking terrifying. Oh, that's a rival. That's a level 4 rival!
Where at? Oh, right on our OBJ.
Yeah, kill that shit. That has good loot on it. Kill it.
I got a 4-star grenade
Oh, it's the goal to kill it. Okay.
Is it? Oh, yeah.
Fuck you! Fuck you!
No! Please get me! Please get me!
I gotcha, I gotcha.
We get it?
Yep.
Hell yeah. There's still something shooting at us.
Oh boy, I got nothing.
Oh, there's a bunch of fuckers up on that hill.
Vision module? Take off. Wait, it's not over?
There's a bunch of dogs up on the hill.
Puppies? You're not my puppy!
Yeah.
You know what? There's break flying. You know what that means?
Puppies in the hill. It's a Phoenix bunkle.
It's Divvy's bunker! Are you... Why are you in Divvy's bunker?
Because it's the OBJ. There's vitals.
You're going too fast, sir. Chill.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still not even in the bunker yet.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's... There's just running ahead a little bit. There we go.
Shouldn't be up here.
There we go.
Okay.
Oh, that's why I can't reload my assault rifle. I ran out of ammo.
What does it use?
5.56.
5.56?
Okay, let me
How many 5.56?
drop item. I can drop 2,000 rounds.
Just give Tabby 2,000 rounds. All right, we good? Oh, somebody's puppy is still alive. Ow, impressive.
Oh
Mine
no,
is.
it's not that it's still alive. It's that I just revived it.
Are we ready to go into the hill?
Yeah, let's go
Man.
into the divvy bunker.
I got scanned.
Invading Divi's secret dungeon.
Oh god, this is Divvy's tech dungeon! This is inside of Divvy's OBS!
Oh dear.
Scary in here.
A Valley Go watch? Hell yeah.
There's so many.
It smells like sports room lockers.
Oh my god, no. There's so many ears everywhere!
Oh, fuck yeah. Ammo pack on my location.
I'm good on ammo. Well, no, I'm not. Never mind. Oh, that only gives you 5 rounds. Okay, I'm just gonna switch to first shot.
That gave me 60. Which would be enough
Oh, this is
for
unnecessary.
my...
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So, anyone know what we're meant to do?
Kill shit! Blow it up! Violence!
Kill shit? Violence? Message? Sent? Seen? Received?
There's something in this room.
It's the, oh, wait.
Yeah.
Violencia! Mitzi!
I think we're about to do a
hello?
violence. Mitzi!
Hi, Mitzi. Ooh, I see a...
Vetenskapen har en lång historia av vetenskapsmän som experimenterar på sig själva.
There's for any survivors.
Det är min förhoppning att du får ut värdefull data. Snälla, uppfyll vår dröm, Veronica.
I love the MIDI break so much. It's like, I'm so glad that Divis made that. Can we get another shout out for Divis?
yeah. Let me,
I'm doing it.
Okay.
Yay! Yay for winding down. Oh god, it's smelly! It's stinky, it's smelly! Oh.
That was the wrong word for that.
I love how I'm the only one wearing a mask right now.
No, you're
Should
not.
we be?
Oh. Oh, you're not? Oh. Yeah,
I put one on.
gas masks actually give a bonus to, like...
It's like 40% gas resistance.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. It's also like
it's
40%
outside.
vision obscure.
Okay.
I found the site.
On the site?
Yeah, it's back up stairs and then down another cave.
Gotta...
Fragging out.
Grimmo fucking... Ah! This spider's like me a lot.
Ooh, a thingy. Help! Go! 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 One! One!
14 seconds!
Explosion.
10!
Oh fuck, I should get out of here.
Yes!
Octavia! 4, 3, I fell
Goodbye,
down,
Tabby.
2,
Cool people
1.
don't look at explosions. Cool people don't look at explosions. I'm fine. Don't worry about me, I'm fine. I live, bitch.
For a split second, it showed you as dead, and then it like lagged you forward.
I'm too cute to die.
Oh hey look, the truck is okay.
No!
I look appropriately cool for the occasion.
Wait.
We beat the game!
Technically,
I just got the achievement for beating the game, even though I'm only in the beginning of it.
Were you unaware that this was a DLC?
Oh, this was DLC?
Yeah, this was a DLC mission.
Oh. I didn't know. Not that one.
Well, everybody. Davy, you said you wanted to get launched?
Oh wait, hang on, yeah.
This is going to be the stupidest thing I've ever done.
I'm going to prepare something.
I can help.
Okay.
Got it somewhere. There we go.
There is a gas tank right here if anybody wants it.
I just deployed one.
Hillpaw! Thank you so much for the follow. Welcome on in, hon.
Deploy.
Deploy another one.
I just deployed 3.
We're making a protogen fireworks show.
Yep. Gotta celebrate somehow.
Alright.
You want to know something funny though?
This is a lot of explosives.
That is.
You're all going flying. I'm so sorry that Middy's was like the most pathetic. Get up.
I went swimming.
Yeah, 2 of
At
you
least
got
I
your
didn't
distance,
have-
but Middy just like hit the tank and died.
You
I'm
launched.
so sorry.
You
I
launched
went at
me all
least
the way to the
78
coast.
needles.
You launched me all the way to the coast.
And then you came back immediately. I'm sorry that you didn't get any air at all.
It's fine. I'm gonna look for somebody to raid now. Oh god, I'm gonna close the game
I have
first.
a couple of suggestions.
Hey, wait. Before you do that,
Yeah.
do any of you want adrenaline shots?
Ow.
I have 15 of them,
I can make them.
but they can't.
It just moves away casually. Hang on, everybody. As I said, wait until I place everything, okay?
Okay.
Fucking gas tank. Ah!
I have to go anyway,
Yes.
so
Okay.
thanks for playing.
Yeah, that was real fun.
Have a good evening. Bye.
It was very fun.
Bye.
Sir,
But
Yes.
why?
let me off.
Oh. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
200 meters.
Okay, I'm gonna end the thing now.
Okie
Okay.
dokie. Goodbye. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, everybody. I'm also gonna call.
Okie doodle.
Bye. Okay, we're gonna raid Porgus. But 1 second. Let me get my AFK video. I have so many sources now. Here we go. Okay, everybody. I will see y'all Tuesday. Because I'm actually, like, I have prior engagements. Raid. Orgy. Alright, everybody, I will see you over there, okay?